even if the door was open, always cheerful too, doing her best to hide her trepidation. I must admit that she hid her fear better than the others, even though the board must have constantly reassured them that they were safe and out of harm. In other words, they were probably told that this place was as safe as any other rehab clinic. The difference was that the residents here could be killed if they didn't comply. Plus, the meds we were given, if taken regularly, and they had ways of finding this out, worked to stun any stimulation. This nurse, Lucy was the name on the tag, feared something else. I could sense it, just as any observant human can sense and conclude. Although many on the staff wore crosses around their necks, I knew she wore hers not because she watched horror films, but because she was an actual Christian. Her main fear was that I might seduce her. She needed all her strength from the Heavenly Father to protect her from my powers, or from the deep dark desire in herself to be ravaged by a vampire. I tried not to think about it when she was around. I needed to prevent myself from laughing at the poor girl. I had given up my days as a seducer, though I had to admit she would have been too easy. Out of touch with modern times and modern women, I mostly attacked in the pitch black night any solitary person I could find. I didn't leave any fang marks on their neck. I left ripped open holes with my fingernails and teeth in the victim's neck, and I even mutilated bodies due to my seeking out every last drop. "How are you feeling today?" she asked me. Still having those dreams of being staked to the ground? I told her I hadn't. She then handed me a Dixie cup full of meds. "I brought you some of the good stuff." I turned away as if shunning her. "Come on, we have to go through this every time? You've made good progress, but I don't want to change. What if someone tried to change you because you don't fit in with others?" I looked at her chest, indicating her crucifix. In reaction, she backed away 2 steps and fondled it with her fingertips. She looked up at me, the friendliness having now been replaced with a cold demeanor. "Well, just take the pills and things will start to get better." Realizing I touched a nerve, I did as she wished. Finishing with me, she walked out without a goodbye. The meds were some neurochemical that satiated my receptors and turned my bloodlust into a cool, intermittent throbbing. Something I could control, something I must control. The penalty was death, staked to the ground to await the morning sunrise. I must have been part of a government program to reintegrate the undead back into the world of the living. They must have considered it more humane than eliminating us. They offered all kinds of meds, any other thing I wanted, and also cigarettes. Yes, even cigarettes. It provided me with a nice distraction, and I had no worry of cancer or any other kind of natural death. Daily therapy sessions. I was part of 5 in my group, though we barely saw one another through the smoke-filled room. I'd give the therapist questions, the expected answers of a recovering addict, and share my darkest fears. After the meeting, the 4 of us would lunch together, and I'd regale them with stories of my past exploits, some of the victims I had feasted upon. The 4 huddled together as if in secrecy as they hung on my every word. This time I told them of my escape from a 17th century Romanian countryside where I had been captured and sentenced to die, tied to the ground awaiting for the sunrise to finish me off. Little did the townspeople know, I had, during my confinement, befriended and seduced a teenage girl, who right before dawn untied my restraints and we escaped together into the dark forest. Not only did I feast on her, but I also avenged myself on my persecutors. Yet my most beloved memory had been as an aristocrat, looking over the countryside from a balcony, snifter of brandy in my hand, and a phonograph playing the 4th movement of Haydn's London Symphony. Must have been the late 19th century I was recalling. Funny how that century-plus memory had evoked the highest expression of freedom and accomplishment for me. I missed that lifestyle most of all. Guys were nice, though they never talked about their past exploits as I did. Gary was my best friend of the group, and we expressed some commiseration to one another. After lunch, when walking around in the yard, he stopped me. "They've gotten in my head somehow. No matter what I do, they see it. No matter what I think, they all know about it. They're going to kill me. I think they want to. They'll do the same to you. Just watch," he continued. They'll start to tell you they're concerned about you and your lack of progress. They'll suggest you stay longer and you'll never leave. Also, they can continue their experiments on you. Come on, I said with a dismissive hand. They hadn't done anything to me like that. Are you sure about that? They usually get you when you're sleeping. They have ways of drawing your blood without you ever feeling it. We continued to talk to the end of the hour, moving from our previous distress to rating the hotness of each nurse and talking about what we'd like to do to them. We both shared a fondness for Nurse Lucy and her plump, voluptuous body, as if her size indicated more blood flowing in her. Of course, he only spoke of her sexually, as if the therapy and meds had reduced him to a sex-crazed normie. At first, laughing off Gary's paranoid rantings, upon entering my room I had second thoughts. Why would the government risk releasing supposedly reformed vampires into the general public? One relapse and they're on the hook for a series of murders. Yet my head had been filled with the possibilities of my new life that I now wondered if I had been too easygoing and trusting in the promises of the doctors and staff had made. So I had to broach the question the next time I visited the doctor. "Looking forward to getting out of here?" he asked, greeting me upon opening the door and giving me a pat on the shoulder. He had been in his mid-40s but looked younger due to what had been personal care and maintenance. "Yeah, I'm worried that I might not be leaving this place." "Oh, and why is that?" "Just been worried." "Well, you've shown definite signs of improvement, and your moods have stabilized over the past few weeks." We discussed various aspects of life and well-being until I finally got to my real question. "So, if I get out of here, does that mean I'm cured of vampirism?" "I'm sorry?" "If I no longer crave blood and become like everyone else, I can go, right?" The doctor rubbed the bridge of his nose with his thumb and forefinger. He rang for a nurse and an orderly. Once they arrived, he finally addressed me in a somber tone. "Gerald, you have spent the past 2 months here. We've got along fine, and you have been a model patient. The staff and I have indulged in your fantasy as you become acclimated to the antipsychotics and get back to normal. But if you continue to persist in harmful delusions, no matter how much therapy you receive, it is time that we intervene and let you understand that there is no possibility of letting you back into the general population without complete rehabilitation." "What kind of shit is this?" I barked at him, indignant. "It is time that you let go of this vampire fantasy. You are not a vampire. You are a 27-year-old from Encino, California, who has concocted this alter ego in order to repress childhood abuse, to escape a brutal home life, and even the life you lived out in the streets." He stopped for a moment to gauge a response from me. "In the face of this overwhelming poverty and rejection, you have created a persona that allows you to be exempt from mortality. Also, in compensation for your past, you believe you lived a colorful life with various adventures, and also doing whatever you can to acquire the taste of past aristocrats in order to prop up your delusion. In reality, you are here for an assault for which you pleaded insanity due to your supernatural claims. It was our hope that you'd recover and then become a productive member of society." Enraged at such gaslighting, I jumped at the doctor, but the other staff grabbed and held me down while he administered some kind of sedative. When I woke up in my room, I knew not what was real. I felt that a vampire was what I was, but couldn't even remember the taste of blood. Was I really not a vampire? Did I just crave the desire to be immortal and to have power? Had what he told me of my past been true? Then again, what if this is part of the treatment? In order for a full recovery, the subject must be led to believe that he never was a vampire. I had no choice but to believe this. If I was just some loser kid with nothing to look forward to, then what the hell was I? Gary had been right all along. They had no intention of releasing me. Then I recalled the other part of our conversation when I realized that Lucy had been making the rounds today. I then recalled my aristocratic past and my years of seducing young maidens, and realized that I could fulfill her hidden, repressed desires. And together, we could concoct a scheme to get me out of here. At the usual time, she walked in, and I slid my tongue over my teeth in anticipation. I experienced an overwhelming liberation as if revived in who I was and in my purpose. I smiled at her and she looked downward, touching her necklace in ritualistic futility. At such a response, the London Symphony popped into my head and I was back. This has been another presentation of The Haunted Scribe. I thank you for listening to this. I plan to have more stories in the future, so please, if you liked it, like it, and subscribe to my channel. And why not ring the bell for notification if you've already gotten to that point? So, thank you. Goodbye.